Hey guys, Fox here, and today we're going to be doing the second of my draft reviews, and today we're going to be doing the team that had the longest win streak in the 2022 season in the New Jersey Generals. Generals were the team that had a 9-game win streak heading into the playoffs to then get bounced in the first round. So, in terms of their draft, the first thing to note is that they did have a huge penalty against them. They did some offseason violations, and due to that, they basically lost their first round pick and it was pushed back to the 10th round, and they were forced to pick last in a couple rounds for a while. So they did have a couple penalties on them. So their draft was naturally a bit harder to do. So without further ado, with the first pick that they had in the second round, with 15th overall pick, they chose Adrian Martinez of Kansas State. This was a huge, shocking pick, as this was their first draft selection. They picked Martinez. Martinez is a QB. He played at Nebraska for 4 years. He transferred to Kansas State in 22, becoming one of just 3 Power 5 quarterbacks over the last 15 years, with 300 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns over a 2-game span, where he joined Lamar Jackson and Cam Newton. And since 2000, he is one of 4 QBs in that span to have over 2,800 career rushing yards and 9,500 passing yards. The others are Colin Kaepernick, Cody Fajardo, and the guy we talked about in the Stallions, one Malik Cunningham. This pick is one that I honestly like more than the Malik Cunningham pick. Now, I do also think this is still a huge risk, and this is a very risky play by the Generals, especially since this is their first pick. But the fact is that if he does come to the USFL, he's going to be a very easy fit in that offense to replace DeAndre Johnson. He's built about the same, just a bit bigger than DeAndre. And at college was just kind of like DeAndre, a completion percentage guy who was very good in his legs. Those completion percentage wasn't, as good as DeAndre was in the USFL last year, but I'd imagine in the offense that they run, if he does come at some point, is he can be just like a DeAndre Johnson that's a bit better. Now, with their second pick in the draft, the 23rd overall, they picked J.J. Holloman. He played at Georgia, Florida International, and Tennessee State, where he had 33 receptions and 353 yards and a touchdown at Tennessee State. And his best season came at 2018, where he recorded 418 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. If I'm going to be completely honest, I feel like this is one of those guys that they're drafting with the sense of he's going to be coming to the USFL. I don't expect him to really be a high-type pick, especially since he didn't do a ton at college really any year, and I believe he may have had some sort of off-the-field issue. So I wouldn't be shocked if he actually comes to the league. So I think that's one of those where they picked him because they wanted someone to come now, especially since they're going to be without Kevontae Turpin, who is their best receiver naturally. Then with the 4th round pick in the 31st overall, they picked defensive lineman Victor Jones. Jones recorded 5.5 sacks for Akron in 22 before Akron. He appeared in 37 games for Wyoming, including playing in all 13 games for the Cowboys in 2021. In 3 seasons at Wyoming, he had 72 tackles and 10.5 tackles for loss. Now, like I said, picking someone in the trenches is always a very solid way to go. I always feel like that's a very solid way to go. You're getting your 6'4" defensive end or defensive lineman who, naturally, if he comes to the USFL, is going to be nice to have. Then with their 5th round pick, they picked cornerback Dejon Warren. Warren was the number 1 JUCO cornerback in the country, that's junior college, in the 21 class, flipping from Georgia to Jackson State prior to signing day. In 21, he started 6 games and recorded 16 solo tackles, along with 1 pass breakup. In 22, he recorded 10 solo tackles and 1 pass breakup. This is someone that definitely could be a very solid addition to the team if he does join here. The fact that this guy was the number 1 JUCO player of his position, even if it's junior college, it's still a very good sign for him. It'd be really good if they are able to get him. Naturally, it's one of those where you got to see if he does come. But I think this is definitely a solid one, especially since they did lose some people to the XFL, one of their cornerbacks, if I'm not mistaken. So I think this is definitely a very solid pick. So I think that, getting your 6-foot cornerback is going to be solid. So hopefully for them, it works out. But, naturally, we got to see if he comes there. Because, they did lose Devontae Bosby, was their star corner that ended up leaving. So if he can come in this season or next season, hopefully, that would be really nice for them. With their 6th round pick, they picked Derek Tucker, safety from Texas Southern. He spent 3 years at A&M before going to Southern, and he overall recorded 109 tackles, 3 interceptions, 6 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles, and was a 4-star recruit in 2017. So this guy has legit talent. So there's a good chance that this could be a very solid pick, just like all the other ones if he does come here. The fact, naturally, it's does he come here? The 6'1", 200-pound guy is definitely someone that you should look out for to come here. He would definitely be a very solid fit in this team to go with the other safety to make a legitimately good backfield. or back group, or defensive back group. Then their defensive end in the 7th round they picked was Jermaine McDaniel Jr. from North Carolina A&T. He spent 2 years at App State before going there. He had 40 tackles, 12 TFLs, and 7.5 sacks in 2019. That season, he was second team All MEAC, and in 21 and 22 combined, he recorded 12 sacks, with 8 of them coming in 2022. So I think that overall, what at least I'm seeing with the general strategy is I think that they're picking more of the type of guys who really are not as probable to go to the NFL. At least that's how I'm seeing how it seems that they're picking. So I think this is another one of those picks where they're getting someone who I think they don't fully see going to the NFL. Though, I mean, you're talking about 6'4", 240 defensive end, he might. But I feel like there are ideas that a lot of these guys do come to the league in the first 2 years. But, I mean, definitely a decent pick. As I always say, trenches are the best. Now, this was a really smart pick, I think. Adam Korsak from Rutgers. He was the Ray Guy winner this past year for the best punter. He was also first-team All-American to Sporting News and has the NCAA career record for punting yards with 15,318. I really like the balls on this pick because the bottom line is you're talking about a Ray Guy winner. It's all but a guarantee that he's probably going to get on an NFL roster, at least for his first year. But when you're talking about punters and kickers, they're technically even rarer than a quarterback. Because a quarterback, you usually have 3 on a roster at some way. Kicker and punter, you usually don't. You might have a guy in a practice squad, but you usually just have one of each. So the fact that they're picking him is that if he doesn't become one of the top 32 punters, in the NFL, there's a very real shot that he'd have to go to the USFL. So the Generals picking him is honestly a really smart move. I like this pick a lot. Even though there's a very decent chance that he doesn't come to the league for a while or ever, this is one of those really ballsy picks that I think was a really solid one, as they picked the top guy at a position, but it's a position that not many people, use a draft pick on, and one that he might come in. So I really like this pick. This is definitely one of their best picks of the entire draft. Then the 9th round pick, Jalen Holston, running back from Virginia Tech. He had 1,200 rushing yards and 13 rushing touchdowns in 6 seasons at VT. Coming out of high school, he's a 4-star recruit and rushed over 4,000 yards in high school. Again, this is another one of those where it's very clear I don't think this guy's going to go to the NFL really, and that they're drafting guys to come here. He wasn't even their top running back last season, even though he was a 6-year senior. So I think this is another guy they're hoping to come this year. And if he does, you're just going to make that running back group even better, as it's not like anyone's really left yet. So if you pair him with Darius Victor and Trey Williams, I believe both of them are coming back for sure. You're having a really, really solid team right there of running backs, as you're just adding another one who's great. Now, if he does end up leaving or going to the NFL for a year, you can just hope that he comes the year after, where maybe Victor or Williams left. But I really do think this is a very, very good pick, because of the fact that this is just going to help bolster the running back group, even if he's not, the best from college. Then their 10th round pick, is they had 2 of them, was Nick Zacchino, long snapper, 10th round pick. The long snapper love. We love to see it. Was at UConn in 2016 before going to Purdue from 2019 to 2021. He appeared in 37 games as a long snapper and was a 2-time academic All Big Ten selection. I'm going to be honest with you, I think this is another very solid pick. This is a guy that also might not go to the NFL because long snappers are also very, very low. There's not a ton of long snappers in the league naturally, so there's a good shot he comes in here too. I really like the Generals taking special teams players. I think that aside from trenches, that honestly might be the smartest decision, because special teams players, mainly kicker, punter, and snapper, are ones that are truly the rarest position to be in a pro level, since there's usually only 1 on a roster, maybe 2. So I think this is a very solid pick to get him. I really do like this selection. Then the last pick was Ray S. from Grambling State. This is a defensive back. It was the last pick of the entire draft. He had 33 total tackles and an interception for Grambling in 22. He finished with 75 total tackles in 25 games across 3 seasons. A decent pick at the end, but I wouldn't say the best. So, in terms of their draft, I think this is very hard to rank to me, because I love both of their takes of special teams players. But to me, I feel they really missed the ball on drafting offensive line. That is such a huge area of concern for every team that you always need to make sure is good every year. And them not doing that, I think, is a very, very bad decision. Because they're not doing it, they're not having to hope. Yes, hope that everything just works out for them. They have good offensive linemen. Because while most teams drafted 2, 3, maybe even 4 of them, this team didn't. Remember, they're all USFL linemen. Garrett McGinn left. So they lost a really, really solid player on their line. And they didn't draft anyone to replace him. They drafted a lot of players that I feel they are hoping can contribute this year, but they didn't draft any offensive linemen. So I think that's a huge knock against them that just immediately cuts them out of getting an A. And then I think that the long snapper and punter picks are really great picks. I think the Martinez is a very solid future pick to hope he comes to the league. But overall, I think that due to the fact that they failed to draft what I would say is the most important position in this draft, and the fact that even on defensive line, it's not like they did a ton, as they only used 2 picks in that. I'm going to be honest, I don't think they did a great draft, but only because of how much I love the punter and long snapper picks, I'm going to give them a B-. I think that that's a fair grade considering the fact that they did not draft the most important position to draft, but they still made 2 really smart picks, and they're seemingly planning to get a lot of these guys to come play this year. So that'll be it for the Generals. I have no idea who I'm going to do next. I was originally going to do this in alphabetical order, and then I was like, let's do the Generals because I think it'd be a fun one. So this has been Zomfox. Subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified as I upload any videos, and I still have 6 more teams to cover in the draft recap. As always, have a great night.